Well, sweaties, don't be distracted. Wait, before you click off, don't wait. Sorry to scare you. I like getting in character for these kinds of videos. I think it's fun. Sorry, my name is Hannah. I'm cosplaying. I do also have a fake mustache, but I don't think it's gonna stick very well, and it's most likely gonna get on my nerves. Yeah, guys. I also have makeup on, so that's probably not helping it not stick. Okay, no mustache, sorry. And if I messed up my makeup, no I didn't. Welcome back to another breakdown video. I ordered this coat and I was like, I just need something cheap. It's just for a video. And I got it and I was like, oh, this is not that bad. I put it on. I look like a fucking gorilla. If I put... Also, this thing, I don't even know what this is called anymore. Toboggan Russian hat. I don't even know. But my fat dome keeps wanting to like push it up and out. So if my hat falls off halfway through it, then it is soft though, but it sheds like crazy. Anyway, that's not the point. Are you ready to get spooky, ooky, kooky, and a little bit... I was gonna say, are you ready to get horny? That's not, no, we're not doing that. Well, you may, but don't tell me. We are gonna be talking about Nosferatu. Let me paint you the picture. Okay, Christmas Day, 2024. Are you there with me right now? I went, did the festivities with the family, and then I said, I have got to go. I've got to go see this movie. Movie trailers, they're like, coming out Christmas Day. I always see that, but I'm like, well, who's really going to see a movie on Christmas Day? Apparently everybody was there. And I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Well, this was supposed to be like me, maybe another person. But anyways, I'm gonna... Really what sparked this, like, I wouldn't have really... Sorry, this is... not centered. I really wouldn't have even bothered making this video other than to geek out with you guys. My little brother and his girlfriend, they were like, have you seen Nosferatu? And I was like, bitch, yes. My little brother said, so what's it about? What's happening? And I was just like, well, you know, it's like, and then, you know, didn't know how to explain it. It's a vampire that's very horny for another man's wife. So then I started thinking, I was like, well, I should probably make a video about that. Maybe there's people out there that wanted to see it but are not fans of horror, because it can get gets a little dicey. Maybe you weren't able to see it. Maybe you're not able to watch it at home. I don't know what your predicament is. Or maybe you just want to hear a nice, well, it's not nice, a spooky bedtime story, okay? And I'm here to deliver that. Okay. This movie has everything that I love. First and foremost, I was going to see this no matter what because it's got Bill Skarsgård. I have seen everything that he has ever done. And I mean everything. I'm not kidding you. Even the Swedish stuff. I've seen it all. But also, Robert Eggers wrote and directed this. I'm a slut for Robert Eggers. Everything that he's made so far has been A++++. And he's coming out with the werewolf. Oh, I feel like Lily Rose Depp in this movie where she's like ripping her corset open and she's like, whoa. How I feel about him making the werewolf. More on that later. So yeah, we got those two factors already playing in. And then I love the time period. I love the 1800s. I will watch anything that is set in the 1800s. I eat it up. I love the fashion. There's so many elements you can play into. The plague, which we will talk about in here. I don't know what else needs to be said. I don't even know how I need to really set this up. Trigger warning, which I feel like if you're already watching this video, you might already hazard a guess as to what might be going on. This is a very sexually charged movie. There's blood, there's killing, there's talk of religion, there's... Oh, something does happen to the kids. Nosferatu is about a young woman named Ellen who unknowingly summons the evil supernatural entity Count Orlock. Set in 1830s Germany, Ellen is filled with terror and fear when her new husband Thomas goes on a business trip to see Count Orlock in Transylvania. In Ellen's youth, she prayed to someone to ease her loneliness. This awakens the evil entity of Count Orlock, who becomes obsessed with Ellen and haunts her dreams with deep psychic connection. Orlock also brings death and disease, such as the plague. He travels on a ship with rats and they run through the streets spreading the plague. Okay, that's kind of your basic synopsis. I think I should just go ahead also and explain what the is Nosferatu. Well, get this, bestie. So I didn't know jack shite about this story. I know of it. My only knowledge of Nosferatu was from SpongeBob. I knew that there was a silent film. I don't know why I did this, but I did. I printed off Count Orlock from original silent film. I don't know. I just thought it'd be kind of cute. He could be like our overseer or something. Where would we be without him? Nosferatu. Nosferatu. The word Nosferatu is a Romanian word. It means vampire or undead. It's Yes. Okay, so I found this very interesting. A 1922 silent film. It was made in Germany, directed by F.W. Murnau. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but was based on Bram Stoker's Dracula. So it was like a 25-year difference from when Bram Stoker's Dracula was written to when the silent film was made. I wrote, basically it was a fan fiction of Dracula. Oh, so the movie came out, and Bram Stoker's wife was like, excuse me, bitch, you guys did not get permission to make this into a movie. And it's very heavily inspired and influenced from Dracula. Y'all just changed some names. I'm suing you. So I'm gonna sue your ass. They went to court, decided that all of the original copies and everything that has to do with Nosferatu needs to be destroyed. Well, they did that. I don't know, like, how they accounted for everything. Going to the theaters that they distributed it to and was like, we gotta throw it into a fire. Other than that, I don't know what they would have done. There was one copy. From what I found on Google, they said it was an American copy. I don't know. It was just English dubbed. I don't know who saved it, who was harboring that one. Copies were made from that one. And I guess legally they can't do anything after that. They couldn't really pinpoint it. That's how we got the movie. Oof. The original film was actually banned in Sweden for excessive horror. If we showed this version, the 2024 version, to people in 1922, I think that they would explode. Just go ahead and get started. I'll talk more about like the little behind the scenes stuff once you understand what's happening, because you need to know the story before I can just start spitting facts. I think it's worth noting though that the film opens up the original Universal's logo, which I don't know how y'all don't know this. I don't know, you guys. If you weren't aware or just didn't even think about it or realize it, that is the home of horror, babe. We got all the classics. Wolfman, Frankenstein, of course Dracula, Nosferatu, Bride of Frankenstein. Bitch, this is the home of horror. So we're gonna meet our first character, Ellen Hutter, Miss Lily Rose Depp. This is her movie. I'm telling you, like, everybody in this movie showed out. I'm sorry if every character I hold up, I'm gonna be like, they did the damn thing, because they did do the damn thing. Okay, be for real. Ellen Hutter, she is crying. The majority of this movie crying. I'm sure Lily Rose Depp was probably severely dehydrated by the end of this. She's just praying out to anything, asking for, I need companionship. I need somebody to weather the lonely nights with me, I guess. She keeps saying, come to me, praying for anything to answer her and bring her comfort. At this point, when we open up with her, she is a younger girl. I'm assuming she was maybe like 14 or 15. We find out later on, and I'm not spoiling anything, but her mother has died. And I think that this scene takes place right after that happens. She's very lonely. Her father doesn't understand her. She has some tendencies that we're going to talk about, psychic tendencies, but her father chalks it up to being fucking crazy. You're a woman and you're crazy. She's praying to some celestial being saying, I need somebody to be here with me, please. Somebody just sit here with me and talk to me. Damn. She's just really lonely. Okay, this is really my only quarrel with this story, is like, this seems like kind of a lame ass reason to summon something. I mean, she's obviously not intending to summon something, but I don't know. I almost would have liked it if they kind of made it so she dabbled into the occult or something. Like, she saw something in a book and she's like, I think I'll try this, tries it, and then she's like, oh god, I don't think I need to do this. But then she's already opened a door. But that's not what happened. She ends up waking up an entity. Count Orlock. Look at him. Look at him. Isn't he hot? He got the jumbo picture, because I love Bill Skarsgård. In this scene, we see like just a flash image of him really quick. Like, if you blink, you miss it. Is that Bill Skarsgård? Wakens this entity. She goes to her window, starts levitating. You see the shadow of Count Orlock doing his thing, making her rise up. And she's walking out into the garden. He starts speaking in that Dacian, very gravelly. You know the meme, you will bounce on it. He says she's woken him from an eternity of darkness. She's like laying down in the flower bed, poor thing. Voice asks if she will be with him forever, and she says she swears it. Homegirl starts having an orgasm. I mean, full on. Just as she's about to finish it up, we see that flash image of Orlock, and he's over top of her, naked. He's grabbing onto her like, yeah! And she starts having a seizure. She starts convulsing vigorously. It kind of like fades down into the ground. And then we see the title. I'm salivating. But after that scene, it's years later. So she's probably in her early 20s, and she is now newly married to her husband, Thomas Hutter. Okay? I might be turning into a Nicholas Hoult girly He was perfect for this role. I'll talk about it more because there was somebody else I'm also a very big fan of. Somebody else was up for the role. Once I saw Nicholas Hoult in it, I was like, thank God. Ellen wakes up. She's asking for Thomas. Ellen has had a dream that she's worried about. Is saying, like, can you just stay, please? Do you remember she's praying for companionship? She needs somebody to be with her. He's like, I've got to go to work and make some money. Like, freshly new, what? Brand new newlyweds? New newlyweds. They're newlywed. Whatever. But they're on their honeymoon. It's coming to an end. He's like, I've got to leave so I can go back to work. Well, he wants to be a real estate agent. He's working at a firm. I'll get to it in just a second. There's also a cat there named Greta. Fun fact, Greta was the name of the actress from the 1922 version. Greta Schroeder. Yeah, she was the original actress that played Ellen. Thomas says, I'm up for a new position. I've got something that my boss he's really needing me to do, and if I can go ahead and get that done, I know I've got a shoe-in spot for actually being a part of the firm. So I gotta bounce, bitch. He leaves. Ellen says, he's got the position already. They'll send him away. This is where we start to realize Ellen is psychic. She talks about it more later on, that she's able to know that things are going to happen before they happen. She's in touch with the other side. She's got friends on the other side. Thomas goes to work. The real estate firm that he's trying to get a full-time position at, which is run by Herr Knock. They actually pronounce it Herr Knock, but I'm just going to say Knock. Oh, shoot. Damn it. I wrote down descriptions of everybody. Okay, well, I'll do that now. Oh, God. Okay, so we're going to start... I wrote down a description for every character, and here it is. Count Orlock. Main antagonist, vampire, recluse, who spreads disease and death for centuries, called the Bird of Death, has bat-like ears, which... I guess so. I've never really paid attention to his ears, but in this version that we're talking about, he has a history rooted in Transylvanian folklore. A dark wizard seeking to conquer death, known as a Solomonary? He made a deal with the devil to live forever, but at the cost of consuming human blood. He speaks the reconstructed form of Dacian language. So that's basically Orlock in a nutshell. I'm kind of glad we don't get more of a backstory. Like, you can use context clues by his attire and his mustache. Everything about him, you can kind of just... It's a guided interpretation, sort of. But I'm glad that we don't get a full backstory, because it's like, we don't need that. We get it. He's evil. Ellen, main protagonist, wife to Thomas Hutter, unwanted object of affection for Count Orlock, based on Mina Harker from Bram Stoker's Dracula. She is gifted supernaturally, possibly psychic. She is a sleepwalker, which, girl, you better watch out. They might burn you at the stake. You know what? I come from a family of sleepwalkers, but it's not as interesting as the experiences that Ellen has. I think I've made my bed a couple of times in my sleep. I definitely have had some conversations, but they're not meaningful at all. There was one time I guess I was just sleep talking. My cousin Maddie had slept over at my house, and she was on FaceTime with somebody in my dream. I don't know why. I can't tell you why. I thought she was writing a song with Luke Bryan. I kind of woke up from my dream and I looked over at her and I said, did you finish? And she said, what? Like, your song, did you finish it? And she was like, what the f*** are you talking about? And then I just fell back asleep. That's about the extent that I get with this. Ellen is way more in tune with it. She sleepwalks, which could be considered paranormal or able to communicate with the other side. But Thomas Hutter, estate agent. Well, hoping to be. He's based off of Jonathan Harker from Dracula. What I was going to say, why I brought all that up, was because, oh shit, Herr Knock. His character is inspired by Renfield from Dracula, which, coincidentally, Nicholas Hoult made Renfield with Nicolas Cage. Knock is inspired by Renfield. But that film was more about Dracula and Renfield's relationship, and especially, like, on the journey to... Oh, it doesn't matter. We're not talking about that film. He runs the firm. Actually, if you look at the plaque on the outside of his firm, it says Knock und See. I think that's how you would pronounce it. And it'd be like Knock and See. It's a pun. Look, even back then they could joke. Humor was not invented in the 1900s. Thomas runs into the firm. There's a bunch of old white men that give him really dirty looks. They're like, you've been keeping him, as in Knock, for like 15 minutes. Go in there, bitch. Not impressed with him running late. Thomas goes to speak with Knock. Knock is like, bitch, I don't care about that. We created time. Time is an illusion. It's not real. Nothing in this world is real, dude. He's kind of like a double agent. And saying, I need you to go speak with one of our clients. Count Orlock is looking to buy some new property over here in Visburg. It's a plan. It's all a plan. Knock is under Orlock's control. He would love to be Nosferatu, a vampire. He would love to be immortal. In the original, in the 1922 version, he says, Orlock is wanting to buy the property that's directly across the street from yours. They don't say that in this one. We find out that the property that he ends up getting is like right down the street. He has selected, I'm gonna butcher this, Grunewald Manor. Thomas is like, shouldn't we give him a nice place to be? That manor is falling apart. It's a ruin. It's decrepit. Why would we put him there? But Knock is like, he said he didn't care where he was at. He just would pay top dollar for anything, so we're gonna give him that one. You gotta go to him in Transylvania because he's too ill to travel. He's got one foot in the grave, so to speak. You know what? I think he was the one that put Knock and See on the side. He's funny. Knock showing him maps of where Transylvania is. We, as the audience, I don't know if Thomas ever really noticed, but see wax seals and also some symbolism. I'm assuming it's like the Dacian symbols. The wax seals are pentagrams from Monsieur Orlock. Knock just like put some papers over it to cover it up, so he's like, you didn't see that. He tells him that Orlock needs a real estate agent to come to him in the flesh and he will reward him handsomely. And Thomas is like, well, I need money. If Thomas is successful in this journey, that he will secure himself a position at the firm. So, but then remember what Ellen said? He's already got the position and they're going to send him away. Like she's already predicted all this is going to happen. Thomas runs home to tell Ellen that he has got to leave. And this is where this scene is. He went and got her some lilacs. This 1922 version, this is the same line that said, she says, why did you kill these flowers or something like that? But they're lilacs, and lilacs are going to play a big symbolic role in this story. And also her positioning, holding these, she's holding them like a bride. Another symbolic thing. She's going to be staying with his old schoolmate and one of his best friends, Friedrich, and his wife, Anna, and their 2 kids till he comes back. Now, because this is, nowadays, for them to go from Germany to Transylvania, I'm not sure how long that would take, like modern day travel, but back then, that was like a couple week journey or something, maybe even a month. It wasn't uncommon for people to be gone for long stints of time if they were traveling, because he's doing this on horseback. Good night. She says that he can't leave her because she's having these dreams again. And he's like, look, the doctors have already told you, cast these dreams aside. It does not do to dwell on these dreams, right? She's like, just shut up and listen to me. Listen, Linda. But she explains her dream of it was their wedding day, except she was not getting married to Thomas. She was getting married to death. She said the smell of lilacs was so thick. Big thundercloud, which again, I'll talk about more. That's one of his powers. But she said she was never happier than holding hands with death, but people around her were all dead. All of the friends and family around them were died. She thinks this means something awful for these two, and she begs for him not to leave. And then we cut to them just riding in a car just next to each other silently. This is where we meet Thomas's schoolmate, Friedrich Harding, Aaron Taylor Johnson, ATJ. In doing my research for this, a lot of Reddit threads were saying Aaron Taylor Johnson, they thought his role, the way he played it, maybe a little campy and way too theatrical. I really liked the way he played it. I don't know if this is spoiling it or not. He is the only one throughout the entire story that does not believe in supernatural. He only believes what he can see. I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh my God, I'm sorry. We have his wife, Anna Harding. She is a God-fearing woman. She's very conservative in her beliefs, but better friend to Ellen than anybody else, really. Friedrich, he is a young German shipyard merchant, inherited from his father, schoolmates with Thomas, father of 2 girls, and husband to Anna Harding, based on Arthur Holmwood from Dracula. Anna didn't get much of a description. Her character's kind of probably the smallest part in this whole ensemble. Mother of 2 girls, wife of Friedrich. She and Friedrich share conservative values, and she's based off of Lucy Westernra? I don't know. Shit. He comes from money. That's really all you need to know. They're very stinking rich. Him and Friedrich are having a conversation, and he explains, once I secure this position, I'm going to pay you back for the debt that I owe you. So obviously Friedrich has helped out Thomas, paying off some bills. And Friedrich has taken over his father's position at the shipyard. He has 2 daughters, Clara and... It doesn't matter what their names are. And then he says, just between you and me, Thomas, my wife Anna is pregnant with our 3rd child, and I know it's got to be a boy. My little Friedrich keeps talking about how he can't resist Anna's body, because Thomas is like, oh my God, you are such a rutting goat. Like, I can't resist my woman. I love her. I love her to death. Anna tells the girls that it's time for bed. They start screaming, hooting and hollering, because they're like, oh, no, it is not time for bed, because when it's bedtime, a monster comes out. We can hear him breathing under our bed. They're very scared, and it's just foreshadowing. And it kind of leads into the whole idea that children and also animals. Speaking of someone that I'm very well versed in my paranormal activity, that makes it seem like I have my own experiences. Not like that. I mean, like, I watch a lot of paranormal shit. Children and animals, they're very open to things, is the theory, so that they're able to see and hear things that maybe grown-ups can't. Foreshadowing that there is a monster coming, and they say that they can hear him breathing under the bed. Well, we find out that Orlock, God, he needs to have a CPAP machine or something when he goes into his coffin, because his breathing is awful. That night, before Thomas takes off, Ellen they've made amends. She's like, okay, fine, but please write to me. That night, before he leaves, she cuts a piece of hair and puts it in a locket for Thomas to keep. Says to write every day. He says he will, and then he takes off. This is where the journey starts, people. Also that night, this is where we learn Knock is like the double agent here. He's sitting in the middle of his office, lit by candlelight. That's another thing I should point out. Most of these scenes, either they're lit or lit only by candlelight. So it's very ominous, very dark. Ooh. There's scenes where it's nighttime, and there's kind of like a blue cast over the scenes. There's the Twilight blue filter sort of thing happening. I haven't found if it's confirmed or not, but I think it's a nod to the 1922 version, because when I was watching it, there are some scenes where Thomas meets Orlock and the scenes are blue. They obviously probably had to shoot them in the daytime, and then they just put a blue filter over it. And I was thinking at first, I was like, why is this in the daytime? Because this scene is supposed to be taking place at night. And then it clicked. I was like, oh, okay. Blue is supposed to significant night. That was the way that they could do it. Anyway, so I think that the blue sheen that we see over the nighttime scenes, I don't know if that was like a nod 22 film, or just because it made it look like everything was gray and sickly and bleh. Yeah, so anyway, back to the topic at hand. Knock is sitting in the middle of his office, in the middle of a pentagram. Yeah. And he's opened up one of his cabinets that he has in his office. I don't know what you would call it, like a shrine or something, but he's got objects, books, symbols in the middle of the floor, naked, butterball naked. Cut open on his arm, getting blood out, and he's drawing symbols on a canvas of sorts. He's talking to Orlock. Shit's happening. Moves have been made, sir. Thomas is on the way. I've done my part. The plan is falling into place. Thomas, on his journey, he gets to a Romany village. When he gets there, he gives up his horse. I don't know why you would do that. I'd be like, no, thank you. I'll keep my horse with me at all times. He ain't gonna get that horse back. They're coming up to him. They're dancing around him. They're playing music like right in his face. They're like this close to him playing some music. And then everything stops. The innkeeper comes out. Thomas goes up to him. He says, can I please have a room for the night? He says, I'll pay double. It is eerie because all of the people inside of the inn, as soon as Thomas walks through, they shut up. There's people that are putting up garlic, praying, keep out the evil spirits. This one lady takes Thomas and leads him to his room. I think she's talking in Romanian. He can't understand what she's saying. She's basically saying, like, please don't go up there. You need to stay here and just pray with us and then head back home. They're fucking scared of Count Orlock. He's a vampire. I don't know how they found out, but maybe he tried it with one of them in the past. Maybe he went down and scooped up some of their villagers. I don't know. Interesting, because in this version, they just make it seem that Thomas doesn't understand what they're saying because they're speaking in a different language. In past versions of Nosferatu, he goes to the pub, like, I'm going to the castle, I'm gonna go see Orlock, and the bartender's just like, you really shouldn't. Thomas is like, nah, that'll be alright. I think it's better this way, where he doesn't understand what they're saying, he doesn't understand why they're so scared of it, can't say no. He's like, I got a job to do. I gotta get paid. In the middle of the night. In the middle of the night. When is Reputation TV coming out? Thomas wakes up because he hears villagers are chanting something. He doesn't know what they're saying, but we have subtitles. We as an audience know. They're taking this girl, virgin child. She's naked. Sorry, I've got shit in my eye. Put her on a white horse. I found out because I didn't realize what the hell was actually going on. I just didn't know if this was just written for the movie or if this was an actual thing. Apparently, Romany folklore history is like steeped in vampire lore. A lot of the times they were vampire hunters, and so find where these vampires are and kill them. This is what they're doing that night. I think in some folklore they have like a 7-year-old boy to wear all white and walk midday through the forest, and he'll be presented to a vampire or something. I don't know. Lord, I don't know. This is just what I've been reading about. My search history looks so weird. They find the grave. I say, oh my god, the vampire. They don't say that. Basically, to get the gist, the leader, he opens up the coffin, stabs an iron stake through the body. Body like spews out blood. And Thomas says, oh, by the grace of God, no. Something like that. Just shouts out. He's like, oh, f-. It goes black, and then we see Thomas waking up in the bed. So you're like, oh, Was that just a dream? He has like a cross, some kind of necklace that the woman prayed for him when he first got there, gave to him. And then we see his shoes got mud all over them. So most likely it was not a dream. They probably just carried him back. And then he gets outside and he's like, hello? Melania Trump, hello? Nobody's there. They've all left. He's like, I need my f***ing horse. He took that horse and dipped. God. I had a thought, but I just lost it. Anyway, so Thomas makes his journey to Orlock's castle. He's going across some bridge, and just before the bridge, there's like this little shack, and it's got crosses all over it. This is something, okay, I'm going to talk more about it as we go on. There are some vampire tropes are mentioned, like obviously we've already seen the lady praying with the garlic. Clearly he can't come out during the daytime. There's little things that are mentioned, but some of the tropes, the myth of vampires that we know, it's like we cherry picked here. I want this, not that one, maybe that one, some of that. The reason I brought that up is that when he passes the shack full of the crosses, really, it doesn't appear like they're known to keep him away. It doesn't seem like the crosses and crucifixes are gonna stop him. He gets to this four-way intersection. This scene is so amazing. Cinematography in the scene is top. It was turned up to 10. Anyway, he comes to like a four-way intersection. He's just standing there. He's like, the snow is falling. And actually, fun fact, they use potatoes for the snow. And then we see a carriage way down in the distance, pulled by black horses. That doesn't really matter, but in case you wanted to know. Running, he's not moving. I think he's like in a state of, is this all a dream since the night of seeing the villagers attack the vampire? I think he's just like, he's standing there, he doesn't move, and when the horses get closer to him, they're like in a full charge. They rear up, they kick up their legs, and he's just like, and then it gets ooky and spooky and kooky. He sees the carriage is now facing, like, what would you call that? Not parallel, but it's facing sideways from the direction that it was coming this way. And there's no noise, which I think is a nod to the silent film. It makes it spooky. Door opens up, again, quiet, and Thomas walks to it, and then he floats into the carriage, leading into like, is this a dream or what? It takes him to the castle. We also see some wolves chasing after him. Count Orlock's it like the camera is like this close to his face, so it looks like he's in a casket or something, but he's not. He's outside of the castle, and the doors are oh my god, doors open up. We see a figure down the ways. It's Orlock. We see the shadow just turn and walk away, and it's like, come on, bitch. Orlock speaking with Thomas as they're going up to the stairs, and he's like, you are late. You motherfucker, you're late. As they're walking up the stairs, you think that Orlock is like 2 steps ahead of Thomas. Negatory. Because when Thomas rounds the corner, he's like, where did you go? To the dining room or whatever that room is. And he sees Orlock is like across the room. That's another trope. Supersonic speed. He tells Thomas to go ahead and set out the deed and sit down. Thomas is like, well, shouldn't we do this tomorrow morning or something like that? It's really late. We don't have to do this right now, do we? Orlock is like, no, you need to sit down. He says, yes, sir. And then Orlock is like, you're gonna address me as Lord Disick. And the whole time the scene is playing out, Thomas is really having a hard time keeping his eyes, like even looking over at Orlock, using his peripheral. He's very intimidated. He's like sweating profusely. He doesn't look good at all. He looks very sick. I mean, he might be sick, honestly. He was just walking around in the snow for all day. That's just another layer to this onion. Orlock is pulling out the deed. That's where we hear his breathing. It's like, you feel bound, sorry. Found out also that Bill Skarsgård, he apparently did something called Mongolian throat singing. Like, what even? How did you find out that was a thing? I've never listened to it. I don't know if I really want to listen to it. Anyway, that's your fun fact for that. Thomas is like, all right, look, I've got to talk to you about something. What the happened in that village down there? I saw these villagers exhumed a corpse and stabbed it through the heart. What is that all about? But Orlock goes on to say that it was the eve of, Sant Andreas, darkest witching night, when devil's magic bids the wolf to speak with tongues of men. Every nightmare is sensed from the grave. And then Orlock starts laughing. It's kind of funny because he does one of those laughs. It sounds like the Count from Sesame Street where he's like, ugh, ugh, ugh. It doesn't sound like that at all. Oh, it's funny. Thomas is just like, okay. Orlock tells him that they may keep many superstitions that seem backwards. And Thomas tells Orlock, he's like, well, why would they pull out the dead body? And he gets very loud and he says, shut up! Stop talking! don't talk about it anymore. Also, I noted it when I was watching it again. When he yells that, voice echoes, and then we can also hear bats flying away. I don't know, I just thought that was a cute. Not cute, but you know what I mean. He says he can't wait to move to Thomas's city where no one talks about or believes in the morbid fairy tales. Silly little stories that everybody talks about. Thomas goes to grab some bread. Orlock is asking if Thomas is married, but as soon as he asks that, Thomas cuts his finger. And there's blood. And Orlock, his eyes get all big, and he's like, be careful what you're gonna do next. He says he will ease his wound, and then he tells him, come over by the fire. Without moving, or at least we don't see Thomas moving. We just see his chair has been moved with him in it. The fireplace. There's a statue, and it kind of like turns its head. Again, another aspect where you're like, are you dreaming or what? Are you seeing things? He turns around, and Orlock is standing over by the table. It's just creepy. He has a look of just complete horror on his face, and he looks like he wants to start screaming, but then the scene ends. We don't see what happens. Ellen and Anna are walking on the beach, and Ellen is asking Anna if do you ever have like an outer body experience where you don't feel like you're in control of yourself, like you're a doll at the mercy of somebody else? And Anna's looking at her like, no. Anna tells her that it is God reaching out for her and that her words come from her heart. And then Ellen says that without Thomas, her heart is lost. Ellen is trying to confide. I think there's something else beyond what we can see. There's something out there that's gotten a hold of me. This is also where we see that Anna is very heavily rooted in her religion, her beliefs. And she's like, it's just God. Shut up. Shut up. It's God. Stop. We cut to Thomas in the castle. It's daytime, and he wakes up on the floor next to the fireplace. Calls out for Orlock. Orlock don't answer. He's asleep, boy. He goes to a room and he finds a little hand mirror. He sees 2 bite marks on his chest. Ow! He drops the mirror, it breaks, and then we see a bunch of rats at his feet. So later on, they're... Oh God, my back. Orlock is looking at the picture of his new home in Visburg, and we can see just from the illustration, this was something while I was watching it, I thought it was kind of funny. Like, somebody had to go out there and draw the manor that Orlock is buying. It's in ruins, like the ceiling is caved in. So I think it's kind of funny somebody went out there and drew that. We see more of those symbols and his pentagram wax seal. He uses that on the contract for Thomas to sign. Contract, though, is written in the Dacian symbols. When he turns it to Thomas, and Thomas is like, what does this even mean? Orlock, he makes a comment about Thomas's locket, the one that has Ellen's hair in it. Can I see it? Thomas gives him the locket. He starts sniffing on it. He's like, lilacs. Thomas is asking if he can mail some of his letters to Ellen. In the 22 version, he was able to actually get the letters out to mail to Ellen. They twisted it around where it seems like he is completely cut off from everybody. He doesn't understand the language of the villagers. He has no way to communicate with Ellen to let her know that he's okay, he made it. Chest is brought out that holds all of Orlock's money, because he keeps telling him, go ahead, sign it for me, please. Well, then Orlock pulls out a chest. Here's your pay, but you're not getting it until you sign it. So then he goes ahead and signs it. Orlock is like, well, I guess it's getting pretty late. I'm sure you want to retire soon. And the whole time he's still holding onto the locket, and he's like, Thomas is like, with all due respect, I want to leave. I don't feel good. I'm having weird ass dreams. I want to go home. And then Orlock tells him, bad luck for people to travel in bad health. So, no, you're gonna stay here another night. He leaves, and Thomas is like, Orlock, my lord, you still have my locket. You ain't getting it back. He wakes up again with more bite marks on his chest. So that's another trope. And we can kind of conclude Orlock is biting Thomas and drinking his blood. The vampirism lore that I have always known, if you get bit by a vampire, you turn into a vampire yourself, or you die, like depending on if they drink all your blood or they kill you, whatever the fact. I was always under the impression you get bit, you turn into a vampire. Not necessarily in this case. Find out more about the lore of Orlock. I mean, I kind of already explained it some. He sold his soul to the devil, Soliminary, whatever, in order to be immortal and stay on this earth. He has to drink human blood in order to do that. So that was his way of becoming this. His lore is more demonic. I don't know if he really has the power to turn people into vampires. In this story, if you're bitten, unless he drains you dry, you don't die. And you don't become a vampire. You're just bitten, and he has a taste for your blood. Usually means he's probably gonna end up drinking all of it anyway. He's savoring the flavor as of right now with Thomas. When he wakes up again and sees that he's bitten his chest again, either the rats are biting me or something is going, I don't know, but I need to leave. Trying to find his way out. He's running through the castle, he's pushing on doors, pushing on gates, they're all locked, he can't get out. Oh my god! He finds one cellar, he breaks the lock off. Oh my god! And he sees like a mausoleum. I don't know who else would be buried in there with Orlock. There's a couple of caskets down there, a couple of coffins. The main one that we're concerned about is at the very end of the cellar. It's got pentagrams all over it. He grabs a pickaxe, removes the lid. He sees that it's Orlock. Orlock is covered in maggots and rats. And then you can also see his teeth. His teeth are not like the typical like vampire teeth. They're chipped and gnarled. They look like they've seen some better days. This is the first time we're seeing like a full... He sleeps naked. Skin is gray and emaciated. Just looks dead. Thomas picks up the axe and he goes to swing it. Then Orlock, he grabs the axe, throws it down, and stands up. We see his penis. And Thomas takes off running. The wolves that chase the carriage, we see them chasing Thomas. He gets out, locks the door. Orlock is grabbing onto the locket, still smelling it and telling Ellen, psychically, we're gonna say psychotically, saying her husband is lost to her and to dream of him forever, to dream of Orlock. Oh my god, dude, just give it up. She don't want you no more. Move on. Orlock's shadow. Now that's another nod. A creepy factor in the 1922 version was the... We see his shadow coming through the window where Thomas is at, putting him in a trance, and he's like, open the door.
Open the door.
Or I'm gonna throw rocks through your window.
You dumb whore.
Open the door, you fat bitch. We see, oh my god, this is where, I remember when the trailer first dropped, this was the only thing we ever got to see of Orlock. Silhouette of him standing there with the two wolves. Thomas lays down on the bed, and there's also Ellen is sleepwalking while it's like cutting in between two scenes. Orlock gets over top of him, starts feeding. Ellen is sleepwalking, like I said, and it cuts to a flash image of her naked. Her titties are out, standing over top of Thomas, and then we see blood coming out of her mouth and her eyes. It's just a lot. Has got Thomas down and is drinking his blood from his chest. It looks very sexual. He looks like he is, baby, grind on me. I wrote, it's almost perverse. Okay, so this is where we're gonna meet Dr. Sievers, Wilhelm Sievers, this guy right here. I can't remember the name of this actor. I'm so sorry, Lord forgive me. But he is such a prominent actor in most of Robert Eggers' films. He was in The Witch, which is probably... I don't know now. I do like Nosferatu, but The Witch is such a great movie. Whatever. He plays the dad in The Witch. That's what I was gonna say. Ellen, when she was sleepwalking, communicating with Thomas, he was getting his blood sucked out. He begins to have a seizure. She begins to have a fit. So Dr. Sievers comes to see her. I wrote, he's a hospital director in Germany in the city of Visburg. Friend to Friedrich Harding, former student to a professor that we're gonna talk about in a little bit. He's telling Friedrich, sleepwalking can be caused by a lot of buildup of blood. Maybe her periods are irregular. She didn't bleed as much as she should have. Could be a reason. So we're just going to watch out for that. He loads her up with some ether. Look, if she starts having more fits, call me, but you can always put her in a corset to regulate her posture and restrain her. If it gets really bad, just tie her to the bed. Basically, unless it gets worse, you don't have to worry about it. I wrote to the corset point. Corsets are restraining, which could hint at the restraints put on women at the time to suppress any sexual tendencies. As the movie plays on, Anna and Ellen represent the two different perspectives of women in this society. Ellen is a little bit more free-spirited. She's told not to talk about these things, but she's like, I need to tell somebody about what's going on. I'm having these thoughts. I'm having these dreams. They're very sexually charged. I need to tell somebody about it. Whereas Anna is like, she doesn't even want to show PDA out in public, so she's like, But that's where they differ. Friedrich and Sievers are talking. We see Ellen in the background writhing around, and she is having another orgasm. Yes, Orlock is fucking horny as hell. I can't even imagine, like, even on your period, Jesus Christ, I'd be like, bud, you have got to stop. She keeps saying, he is coming. Now, obviously, I remember seeing that in the theater, and when she said that, it brought the house down. People were laughing. Back at the castle, Thomas, so he had passed out. Orlock started chomping, and he wakes up to wolves are chasing him again, and he jumps out a window on the ledge, slips and falls into the river. He doesn't die, but he falls. That is how he leaves the castle. We're gonna pick that up in a minute, but Ellen is crying the next day because Friedrich tells her that Thomas has sent nothing in the mail, no letters or anything, and that Knock is nowhere to be found. That's what I'm saying. He didn't keep his promise to Orlock because he said, I'm gonna keep close to your object of this contract. No, he didn't. Ellen is just getting wound up. This is where we also see Friedrich really getting ticked with Ellen. He's rooted in reality where he's like, shut up about these dreams and these fantasies. Put so much time and effort into you the last couple of weeks. I'm sick and tired of this. Because she said, I never really liked Knock. I'm gonna be calling his office, going there every day until I get some word about where he's at, where Thomas is at. Friedrich is like, oh, shut up. You're a woman and know your place. He doesn't really say that, but I took it as that. Wrote that he talks to her like a child. Friedrich and Ellen, their relationship is not great. He tries to tell her that he is most sensitive to her situation Bollocks. He says that he'll send someone daily until Knock is found and that he is certain that Thomas is fine. You're incorrect, sir. He was just getting chewed on by a vampire and jumped into a river. He is not fine. So Anna and Friedrich are walking down by the river. Anna says, you could be a little bit more compassionate to her. Her husband is gone. She's worried. Cut her some slack. And he's like, please stop buying into her fairy tale ways. This is all a bunch of phooey. He turns to Anna and he's like, now anyway, how's our little Friedrich doing? He goes to kiss her. And this is where I was talking about where Anna is like, please, Friedrich, not in public. He keeps reiterating how much that he can't resist her. I don't know if he just means sexually or I'm assuming sexually. And then we hear Ellen screaming. Ellen is in the water. She's having another seizure. This is the weird one to me because I just rewatched the movie before I started filming this so I could make sure I was like all freshened up. I started thinking, why was she having a seizure like this during the daytime? Maybe I'm missing something. Like when she has her fits, everything always takes place during night. Orlock is obviously awake. If I'm not getting it, let me know. At the local hospital, one of his guards comes in. I brought in a new patient and I had to lock him up in the old cells. And he's like, dude, no, we don't use old cells. Those are medieval. Guard is like, you don't understand. We had to. It's not. When we found him, he had killed 3 sheep by hand and was eating their flesh. So he's a bit aggressive. Knock is sitting there, says that he is no one. He is his servant, as in Orlock's. Dr. Severs is looking in. He's like, well, what is all this down here? He's killed and bitten, and like chewed a chunk out of rats and birds. Picks up a pigeon, and he says, these are gifts. Gifts from his lord. So then he bites the head off of a pigeon. Him and Ellen keep saying the same thing. He is coming. Puts a bug in Dr. Severs' ear because he's like, oh my god, Ellen said the same thing. I'm connecting the dots. Knock says he was chosen to serve Orlock because he knows what he covets. I'm going to read straight from my notes. Orlock will cast upon them curses, confusions, afflictions, rebukes, and will reign over their empty corpses. And then he goes up and attacks Dr. Severs. It's not funny, but that was one of the traits that I was going to mention. Homeboy right here, he's got some mad powers. He can control the weather. He apparently from folklore legend, the Solomonary. Apparently they ride dragons. We don't get to see that here, but he can bring upon death and disease. That's what's gonna happen because he's getting on a boat. It's gonna be filled with rats. Rats that are infected. More on that in just a second. Ellen has another seizure at night. Dr. Severs is there with Friedrich. Have I been calling him Frederick? Oh, they restrain Ellen. They tie her down to the bed. They're in their lounge. Well, his lounge. Friedrich says she has these spells every night. He also brings up Knock being at the hospital. He's gone mad, and that he said the same thing that Ellen said. He is coming. E.E. Cummings. Hey, what happened to Thomas, you may ask? There's a Romany woman. She's collecting sticks down by the lake. She sees Thomas's body got washed up onto the shore. How long has it been there for? I don't know. Maybe like a day. We find out she's a nun. Works at the abbey. It's not that she works at the abbey. Lives at the abbey. She's brought into a church. There's a priest that's saying a prayer over top of him. Starts like violently shaking. He does not look good at all. Sits up and he's like, oh my god, Orlock. Now he's got a nun there that can actually interpret what the villagers were saying. So this is where we find out about Orlock. Like his past and what he did. And the nun there is able to translate it to English to tell Thomas like, what the is up. The nun says that Orlock was a black enchanter in his life. Devil saved his soul so his corpse may walk in blasphemy. She says Thomas is lost in his shadow and should stay there with the nuns. He says, no, I gotta dip. I gotta go back and secure my place at the firm. The nuns there are like, dude, I think you should probably stay here. What's his face? Orlock, sorry. He can't leave Transylvania. So I don't know why they would want him to stay there, though. Like, if he can't leave Transylvania from what they know, why would you want to keep him there? Basically, he says, no, I need to leave. Orlock can actually go anywhere if he has his casket with him, the earth and where he was buried at, as long as he can lug around that big coffin of his. Which, in the 1922 version, he does exactly that. It's kind of funny. He's walking around with a giant coffin. Thomas says that he's going to leave because it's clicked in his mind. He knows that Orlock, he can find Ellen, so he's like, I have got to go back to my wife. Gets a horse and he dips. Severs tells, oh, get off, mustache. Tells Friedrich that he knows of somebody who can help. Dr. Severs was a student of the professor, Albin Eberhard von Franz. This is what he looks like. Mr. Willem Dafoe. I'm going to call him von Franz. Von Franz. Friedrich is like, what? Why the did you not bring him up before? Because a lot of scientists are trying to discredit him because he is very much into the occult. He believes in the supernatural. A lot of people are not. They're not down with it. He talks about demons and vampires, everything under the sun, under the occult umbrella. Okay, Bessie, this is what I was talking about. So Orlock, he got his coffin. He hauled it onto a ship to dock into the Visburg shipyard. On this ship, fortunately for him, unfortunately for everybody else, he has brought the plague with him because he brought so many rats in his coffin, infected with the plague. They're running around the ship. They're biting the crewmate, extremely sick. People are dying.
There's people that are dying.
People are throwing up blood. It's a curse. It's a plague ship now. The reason why we know it's Orlock is because the crate with his coffin inside of it, sealed with his pentagram wax symbol. He whispers to Ellen that soon he will not just be a shadow to Ellen, and soon they will be one. Calls out to the thunder, because this is, like, one of his powers, change and manipulate the weather. So he says, the thunder and the winds, bring me to Visburg quickly, like now. Knock is at the hospital, and he shouts to Orlock that he has not failed him and his gift of providence awaits. Shit is hitting the fucking fan now. Sievers and Friedrich go to see von Franz. They get inside his house, and it's littered with books, and I'm sure it stank. And there's cats everywhere. Kind of a foreshadow. Reek of piss. Dr. Sievers pats him on the back. Bunch of dust flying off of the professor. It makes you realize he was probably sitting there for a while. The dust had settled on top of him. Sits in his thoughts a lot, is what I'm saying. Dr. Sievers introduces Friedrich to the professor. The professor turns around and he's like, oh, you're probably here because you have a house guest that's causing you a lot of issues right now. Basically hits the nail on the head without having any information at all on what's going on. They do convince the professor to go see Ellen. Ellen is tied to the bed. Von Franz is like, untie this child at once. Says that she cannot be clouded and to stop giving her drugs. Greta, the cat, jumps up on the bed. Ellen says she has no mistress or no master. She tells the professor about the spells from her childhood, where all this stuff started. As far back as I can remember, I've always been like this. She always knew what she was going to get for Christmas and her Christmas presents. She knew when her mother was going to pass. Father then would find her out in the fields, naked, sleepwalking around. And then her father turned nasty towards her because he would say it was sinning. Says she started to scare her father and wished for comfort, and that's where we saw the opening scene. That is how it all started. Said that her father was going to send her away if it had not been for Thomas. When she met Thomas, the visions stopped, the dreams stopped. They started up again as soon as the honeymoon was over. Orlock, I don't know if he knew the honeymoon's over. She's going to be alone more often now. But now that Thomas is away, the visions have come back, and she's afraid for him because her dreams are getting darker and darker. That night, she's going into her trance. Professor is looking after her, and he says she's no longer here with us anymore. Asks Dr. Sievers, her menstruation is normal. He says we need to bleed her to lessen her congestion. I don't know if that was actually a real thing or not. I mean, I'm sure they probably thought sleepwalking was because of a lot of blood in the body. I'm not saying that's not true, that they thought that. But I don't know. Was it ever proven that that was a true thing that was happening? One of those things that they were like, well, actually what was going on was this. Dr. Sievers says that her periods are liberal. Girl, me too. Sorry. I don't know what kind of procedure they call this. He gets a large needle and he pushes the needle through her arm. Friedrich and Anna are watching and they're like, what the hell? But he's like, she can't feel anything. This is going to let out some of the blood. She's awake but not aware of her immediate surroundings. The professor says, can you hear me? And she nods. She sees enduring night, a specter of death. He spreads his shadow and he's coming. So she starts seizing. We see her do that little backbend thing like Reagan from The Exorcist. Contorting her body. Lily Rose Depp deserves... Actually, I don't think this movie got hard. I don't know if it got any awards at all. I do think that, well, actually all of them, because the cast is not that big, they all needed to get serious recognition for this film, especially Lily Rose. What she puts her body through in this is exhausting. I can only imagine. A full contortion seizing moment. I'm gonna read straight from my notes for this because I couldn't remember all of it. Professor asked whoever is inside her to speak, look up with a weird demonic look on her face, and she says,
I shall protest to join you every night, first in sleep, then in your arms. Everything will be mixed with abomination, and you'll be knee-deep in blood. Everyone will cry. There will be none to bury the dead.
Sorry? What? They get her calmed down. They're downstairs congregating, talking about what the just happened. The professor says, cursed perhaps by a demon. Demons obsess those whose lower animal functions dominate. Hysterics, children, lunatics. Their words, not mine. That's what I was talking about where two daughters were saying they could hear a monster in their room because they're a lot more open and susceptible to this kind of stuff. But sleepwalkers also tend to have a second sight to see and communicate with other beings. Anna is still convinced that all of this is happening because Thomas is gone. She'll be fine whenever he comes back. The professor says that he doesn't know why this is happening. He hasn't heard her say that she's made a pact with Orlock because she did. Remember at the very beginning, he says, I, yours, and you're mine, whatever he said. Yes, I swear to it. So she kind of sealed the deal then and there. He doesn't realize that. So he's like, I don't know why this is happening. Dr. Sievers, stop giving her ether. Do not tie her to the bed. If she's going to have a fit, let her have a fit. And then he says, a dark storm is rising. Sweetie, you got another thing coming. So T, on the ship with Orlock's body, some of the crewmates are tossing over the bodies of people that have died from the plague. And one of the mates says that he's going to end this evil. He's like, I had it. He goes down to the steerage. He's walking. We see it as an audience. You can see Orlock's back on the side, and as soon as the crewmate passes, we see him kind of flex his muscles and go the other way. He opens up the coffin, and it's full of rats. Hands up to show him. Orlock comes in from behind, and he bites into his neck and kills him. He actually kills him. Like, he doesn't keep him around as a juice box. So Nock is in his cell. He's tipped over on that wooden chair, and we see Nock is like foaming at the mouth. He tells the guard, listen, his lordship is coming, and then he grabs hold of the guard and he rips out the guard's throat. He kills him, and then he escapes. And then we see that the ship has docked. Oh god, oh shit, oh shit. Rats are running around the streets. What history has told us is that plague was most likely spread through rats coming in on ships. Ellen, she goes, oh, he's here. And at first you're like, do you mean Orlock or do you mean Thomas? Because remember, the ship just docked and Thomas was riding on his horse. Who do you mean? She runs outside. It's Thomas. He's riding on the horse, and he like falls off the horse, which this is not. Can I tell a story? This scene made me really laugh because I used to be a horse girl. I did horseback riding for like 5 or 6 years. I wasn't like cantering down the hallways at school or anything. Whatever. I was a horse girl. That's my secret. One time, instructor had told me that I had to ride bareback. Lesson went fine. It was time to leave. My instructor said, instead of getting off the horse in the ring, you can ride the horse over to the barn. But I literally was holding on and went bing and fell for no goddamn reason. The way that Thomas falls off of the horse reminded me of how I fell off the horse. Whatever, this is not my story. I'm so sorry. Let's get back to it. Thomas tells Ellen that she was right and that Orlock has his locket and he's coming there for her. And she's like, bitch, I know. Somebody knocking on the door. Friedrich is like, what the hell is going on? The daughters are screaming that, is that the monster? Daddy, is that the monster? It's people from the shipyard. They're telling him about the ship that has come in. It's crashed and the rats are flooding the street. Knock. We see him with Orlock's coffin going down a canal headed to Orlock's new estate. Inside, Orlock is talking to Knock. How is it that Thomas has made it back home? You were supposed to take care of this shit. Knock is like, well, let me go take care of it. I can go kill him. Orlock is like, no, I have some use for him. Don't even bother. Knock basically on his knees. I want to see you on your knees, man eater. Literally begging Orlock, this is what my whole life is about, is for you to use me. He tells him that he'll get Ellen, get his pretty bride for him. Another reference to how she's holding the flowers here and marrying death in her dream. Orlock says, no, you can't take her because the only way that any of this is going to work is if Ellen willingly accepts Orlock, willingly repledges her vow that she made as a child. Ellen is sitting with Thomas. Anna's asking how Thomas is. About as well as everybody said that I was. Not very well. Anna's like, well, I'm just glad to see that you're up and about. You seem a lot better now that Thomas is back. I told you it was just because Thomas was gone. Ellen is like, girl, no. Thomas, look at him. He saw something dark and evil too. It's real. I'm telling you guys. Anna gets kind of upset with her. Ellen, it is so close to Christmas right now. Why do we have to keep bringing this up? Why do we have to keep talking about demons and whatnot? Can't you just shut up? She doesn't say that, but she's like, for the children's sake, shut it. She's like, I'm not going to stop talking about it because I know I'm right. Professor goes to the hospital. He wanted to speak with Knock. Dr. Severs is like, okay, well, before I show you Knock, let me show you this dead body. I think he's been affected by this plague. It's a blood plague. Bite marks on a corpse. What rat has a jaw size that big? He says that the body is completely drained of blood. Professor is like, okay, well, can you show me Knock? But then the guard is like, oh, you didn't hear? He's escaped. Another scene, Orlock's shadow. He's casting a shadow out over top of all of Visper. Below, people screaming and babies are crying. He's affecting everybody just from his goddamn shadow. Thomas, he wakes up a full panic attack. I can't fucking breathe. Pushes Ellen off. He's like, get off of me, woman. Looks up and he sees a vision of Orlock sitting over top of him. Oh, it's Thomas. The professor and Dr. Severs, they're back at Professor's house with Friedrich and they're explaining a theory. I'm gonna have to read this. Lasser's treaty on pestilent revenants of the eastern frontiers of the Habsburg Empire. Do you understand? I know revenant means returning. And that's only because I just watched The Revenant again. I had to Google. I was like, what does revenant even mean? So the doctor goes and explains. It's a superstition, but says a plague attacked the countryside and was allegedly caused by a walking corpse. To retain some bit of life would feed on the blood of the living, and every victim was dead. Friedrich, and they're saying, I don't know why we're putting so much stock into these ghost stories. The professor is like, these are not ghost stories because it can manifest physically. Sole desire is to consume all life, more powerful than evil, and is death itself. If they have any hope of stopping it, they have to acknowledge that evil exists. You can't fight something that you don't believe is there. What you gonna fight? Air? Are you gonna shadow box? They are encountering the undead plague carrier, the vampire Nosferatu. He says it better than I can.
Nosferatu.
But that's where we get the actual name, Nosferatu. Back at home, though, 2 daughters are asking Anna, can you please stay with us? This fucking monster is still coming back. We are so scared right now, bestie. But Anna says, I'm not gonna let anything hurt you guys. Say your prayers and go to sleep. They do that. Anna's walking around. She thinks that she's hearing something. It sounds like the house is kind of creaking. Somebody could be walking. She's just like, and it pans back to her, and Ellen is standing right behind her, and she says, can I please just stay with you tonight? Thomas just woke up and had a full-blown panic attack and pushed her off. They're laying in bed, and she tells Ellen that their friendship means a lot to her. She gives Ellen her cross necklace, and she says, you can keep it with you. I took it as she's accepting the fact that there's evil forces, maybe is coming to the realization that maybe there is something evil here. Anna is still asleep. Ellen walks over to the window. Orlock, standing next to her at the far end, turns in their face to face since her childhood. I actually don't know if he came to her anymore or if it was just in her dreams or if he actually like manifested himself to see her. I just assumed that he would come to her in her sleep, except for that first night when they had to make the covenant. She says that she felt him crawling in her body like a serpent. Devil, maybe? He's basically putting it on her. Hey, I didn't do this. You did it when you were a kid. For centuries, he's been in the darkest pit till she woke him. He calls her his affliction. Your husband that you so love, he sold you to me for some gold. What? You remember the contract that he signed? The one that was written in Dacian that he couldn't read? I wrote out basically a contract giving you to me. So, you're mine. Maybe I'm missing something, but I thought it was kind of odd that Thomas would have to sign a contract for Orlock to get property. I don't know. Maybe that's just what they did back in the day. Because he wasn't selling his old castle that I know of. He says the rest of this covenant must be completed by her own free will. She calls him a deceiver. I was a fucking child. I was like 15. What did I know? He's like, well, that ain't my fault. I didn't do it. You did it. He cannot love, but he also cannot rest without her. And this part was kind of funny to me. He pushes her down. He says, I'm going to try and do his accent. You have 3 nights. Tonight is the first. I'm telling her you've got 3 nights to get it in check. You can call on me when you're ready. We're going to do this thing, or I'm going to kill everybody around you. He's gaslighting her. This has to be on your own free will, but I'm going to kill everybody around you. So it's up to you. But when he was giving that speech, the reason why it made me laugh was because I thought that he was going to keep going like, tonight is the first. So, tomorrow will be the second. And then the third will be the night after that. On the last night, she will submit or Thomas will die. That part ends, but she wakes up. Anna is laying on the floor, covered in rats. They're eating at her, infecting her with the fucking plague. Ellen starts screaming, and we see Orlock's shadow go over her face, and he's like, 2 more nights, 2 more. Anna's laying in the bed, saying it's a shadow pressing, and her body is sinking, and she smells rancid meat and feels like she's suffocating, going into hysterics. She's losing it. Says, oh, it must be our son Friedrich, ravenous and so hungry, he's eating my body away. Must be him, right? Can I see our girls? She's asking Friedrich if she could see the 2 girls, and he's like, I don't think so. I actually don't think that's a good idea. Out in the hallway, Friedrich and Ellen, they have a moment. It kind of blows up, okay? She says, you can't keep thinking this is just the plague. I mean, yes, she does have the plague now, but this evil is real. You need to believe it. Go get the professor, and we need to sort the shit out. Friedrich tells Ellen that she and Thomas need to go ahead and pack up and head on back home. Can't take you guys in here anymore. This is fucking ridiculous. I love you guys, and I'm gonna pray for Thomas to make a full recovery, but y'all need to leave. Ellen is like, why do you hate me? It's like, don't take that attitude with me. What have I been doing for the last couple months here for you? And she's like, bitch, you tied me up. You told me I was fucking crazy. You telling other people I'm crazy. He's like, well, I'll get you and Thomas a coach. At my expense, of course. Oh, he's over it. She yells at him that they're all going to die. See them leaving. Streets are full of shit. Horse shit. Which I think was just common because, they had horses everywhere. People are dying, people preaching out in the middle of the street. One guy is talking about the Book of Revelations. Every door that they pass has a white cross painted on the front of it. It's just not looking good, y'all. The professor and Dr. Sievers go to the hospital and go to the cell where Knock was at. They're looking at the symbols on the wall, and he's like, why didn't I see this before? Of course he's Nosferatu. The professor's like, it ain't him, but he is in contact. So they go to his office, knock and see. They find the book Codex of Secrets. Pull back the rug. They find his pentagram. Oh, God. They go to Friedrich's house. Remember, Friedrich, he's at his wit's end, but they're explaining demon they're after is ancient work and one of Satan's old learned disciples. Using Knock as a conduit. Thomas and Ellen are in danger. And Friedrich, he tells him, well, I've already sent them away. Find them at their house if you want. The more the professor talks about this Nosferatu, he's like, okay, well, how do we kill it? And he's like, I don't know. Friedrich, he starts laughing. After all this, you don't even know how to kill this thing. You don't even know what we're doing. He says a common thing in all of his research, the vampire must return to the earth where it was buried by sunrise. He cannot be out in the sun or the daytime. That's another trope, is that he can't be out in the sunlight, disintegrate and die, I guess. There seems to be a lot of rules that, did you have to find that out the hard way, Count Orlock? Or is it just instinctual? You're like, I can't be out here right now. The sun's coming up. I've got to go. Friedrich gets upset. This is where he really starts slipping emotionally. And you guys need to leave because clearly there is a real plague. My wife was bit by rats. That's the reason why she's sick. I need you guys to leave. There's no such thing as this demon thing. He says in the morning they're going to be leaving Visburg, but the professor is like, if you leave, it doesn't matter. The demon will find your wife because he's drank her blood. He's going to come back and finish her off. It doesn't matter where you go. This scene is very much, it's intense. Thomas is telling Ellen that they need to leave because Orlock is coming to get Ellen. Ellen is like, bitch, I already know all this. And I'll tell you why. She wants to tell Thomas how she summoned Orlock, but she's like, I think you're going to tell me I'm crazy. Nothing you can tell me can shake me because I've looked the devil in the eye. So try me, bitch. Tells Thomas that she is the one that brought Orlock. First it was bliss, but soon turned to torture. Orlock is her shame. I think there's a couple ways you can interpret it. You could interpret it that he is R-wording her. Like, she obviously does not want this. She doesn't want this anymore with Orlock. Every night he's with her, doing whatever, having sex with her. Some people view that as being their shame. You know, she made that pact when she was a child. Also see Orlock being her first sexual encounter. Obviously that was very taboo. I don't know if it really was for the men, but for the women. She calls Thomas out for not writing to her. You never wrote to me. Where are the letters at? She says that Orlock came to her and told her that Thomas has sold her for gold. And she's like, well, where is it? Where's the money? Where's your position at the firm? Did you pay back the debt to Friedrich? All these things that you've been promising? That's where she starts getting very... She starts convulsing, rips open her corset, goes... I can't yell, I have neighbors. Her face starts contorting. She like rolls her eyes back like the Undertaker and like starts sticking her tongue out, drooling everywhere. Thomas is like, all right, well, I'm gonna go get the doctor. And she's like, no, I'm sorry, please. And she starts crawling on the floor to him. And she's like, you can never please me the way he could. Oh my God, Thomas? He unleashes the animal because he's like, how dare you? They start having sex. She says, kiss my heart, let him see our love. And then there's a flash image of Ellen, this time in color. The first time we see Ellen like this, it was at nighttime, so it was kind of black and white sort of image, but this time it's in color of her crying blood, spitting up blood, and so it scares Thomas. She starts laughing, which kind of scares him. It would scare me too. I'd probably start crying. I was gonna say Ellen, like for that moment, personality just flipped, and then when Thomas picks her up and holds her and says that he's got her, it's like she came back. I don't think that was Ellen, you know. Orlock will kill him if he goes to see him. Thomas is like, nope, because I'm gonna murder him myself. Okay, how are you gonna do that? We're getting there, people. We're getting there. You know, they got the book from Knox's office. They're reading a passage from the book. It also shows a picture. I can't put it up here because it's graphic. A naked woman, a demon laying on top of her, and a sun coming through the window. And it's foreshadowing how the movie's gonna end. The maiden did offer her love to the beast and lay with him in his embrace until daylight. Willing sacrifice freed them from the plague of Nosferatu. So basically what Orlock has already said, it's up to Ellen. She's got to be the one to end this whole thing. None of them can kill Orlock. So Orlock's shadow passes over Ellen and Thomas as they're laying on the floor, and it says, the second night is up. Tomorrow, Thomas, your number is being called. You're gonna die. Shadow then goes over the Hardings. It goes over Friedrich, and Orlock says, you're gonna stay asleep for this, bud. Her two daughters start screaming, violently screaming. Anna wakes up. Oh my God, Friedrich, go get them. He doesn't wake up. So she goes into the girl's bedroom. Oh gosh. Count Orlock is there, and he's holding one girl over like this. She's dead. Got the other one like this, ripping out her throat. They died. The girls died, and he drops them on the floor. Anna's sitting there, and she starts screaming. We just see him walking to her, and then it cuts to 3 coffins are getting put into a mausoleum. She died. Anna died. They told you. Thomas, Ellen, and Dr. Sievers, the professor, comes up. They're watching from afar. Friedrich starts yelling to get Ellen away. Get that motherfucking bitch away. You have brought on all this destruction, all this chaos. It's your fault. He's breaking. Aaron Taylor Johnson played the scene very well for me because when his voice starts cracking, I was like, oh We also can't forget that Anna was also pregnant, so double homicide. Thomas tells Friedrich this is all real, and he shows him the bite mark from where Count Orlock was drinking his blood. In their carriage from the funeral, Seaver says that Thomas doesn't appear to be suffering the blood plague, but Thomas tells him that the nuns that found him were able to save him. He's still not free of the spell, because once Orlock has a taste of that blood, he ain't gonna forget it. You won't make me do something I'm gonna regret. Professor says that Orlock's coffin is at his new home. That night they will kill him. Thomas says that he'll take an iron stake and put it through his heart, like he's tried before, to no avail. Professor's going up to his house, and Ellen was like, let me walk with you, please. I know it has to be me, Professor. I know I have to be the one to do this. And he's like, yeah, I'll distract Thomas as long as I can. Ellen and Thomas, they have their last moments together. Well, one of their last moments together. And Ellen is telling Thomas, promise me you're not going to come back until he's dead. She already knows that he's not going to be there. Thomas, Dr. Severs, and the professor go to Friedrich's house because Friedrich was going to go with them. And Friedrich is gone. They're like, well, where the is he? Friedrich has gone back to the mausoleum. He is distraught. And then we could also see that he's infected by the plague, laying on top of Anna's casket. And he's talking about like our son and blah, 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 blah. Coughs up blood on top of the casket. And then he opens up her casket and he picks up her body and gives her a kiss. At the time that the boys, when they get there, Friedrich is inside of Anna's coffin. The body is draped over her body. Topic of debate, especially on Reddit threads. It looks like she was sexually positioned. I think it's the general consensus. He was having sex with her body, or maybe he tried to and he died in the process. Suggestive position for her to be in. Honestly, I wouldn't put it past him, because he kept saying throughout the movie, I just cannot resist her body. I cannot resist her. Professor tells him that burn the bodies to stop the spread of the disease. Thomas tells him that they need to go ahead and head to Orlock's, even though it's already starting to get dark, bud. Moves are going to be made soon. Ellen, she's at her window. She's opening up and she's like, all right, I'm ready. You can come on. And is inviting Orlock in. The boys get there. They go to the chapel. Rats are all over the place. I watched the behind the scenes on this, and apparently they had like 2,000 rats that were trained. I don't know how the you train a rat. Cover the entire floor. They made, I don't know, square mats that had like rat shapes on them. They put real rats on top of it. It made it look like it was moving around. So that's your behind the scenes little tidbit. And also that way they could actually walk on the rats without killing any of them. They get to the coffin. Thomas has got the stake in his hand. They open it up and he stabs the body that's in there. Well, it raises up. It's Knock. He is killed Knock. But before he actually dies, he's saying, I was supposed to be the prince of rats. I was supposed to be immortal. I gave up my life to Orlock because I was going to be just like him. He relinquished him his soul. Orlock only cares for his bride. And then the professor tells him to set fire to all the bodies. But then Thomas starts putting the pieces together. You motherfucker. You knew he was not going to be here and he's with Ellen. You son of a bitch. He takes off running. I'm running. Dr. Severs didn't know what the was going on. He was like, you bastard. So he takes off with Thomas. Professor lights the whole house on fire, I'm assuming. He lights the chapel on fire. I'm guessing the house went down with it. With Ellen. Bestie. We're at the last scene. Ellen is dressed up like a bride, just like this. Orlock's shadow opens up the door and she's standing there. Her oath is then repledged. She says their souls are one now and their bodies will be two. She takes her dress off. She's naked. Tatas are out. Works his way down to her heart, bites down, chomps down, like, and starts drinking her blood. Orlock notices that the sun is starting to come up. Ellen says, no, keep drinking. That's what you wanted, right? Sun completely rises. Hear the rooster crow. It's morning time. Finally see Orlock in the light, which I know we saw him in his coffin. This is where we really see in the pure sunlight. He is dank. He looks more about the makeup that went into that in a minute, but I know for a fact he stinks. He starts to cry blood. He coughs up blood all over my salad, by the way. His eyes are, He starts squealing like a pig. And then he dies in her arms just as Thomas and Dr. Severs and the professor run in there. Orlock is dead. He's gone. Ellen is holding on. She looks at Thomas. He holds her hand and then she is dead. Ellen has sacrificed her own life in order to save everybody. Her dream, where she was standing with death at the altar and everybody around them was dead. She didn't give up her life in order to kill Orlock. That's what everybody would have died. So she gives up her life in order to save everybody else. We had some casualties along the way, but that's all right. The professor recites the passage from the book, places lilacs around her. The professor pick up Greta. He's holding the cat and looking out the window. You can see the professor's reflection in the mirror on the wall. The sun is casting a shadow and it looks like a cross is on his cheek. I don't know if the crosses really did anything for Orlock. I think it's just more people relied on religion and God to protect them. So maybe it was for the person, not necessarily for the, well, maybe it was because he was a demon. So whatever. I don't know. Look at that how you will. I don't know. A shot of, I can't really show it because it's some naked bodies. Ellen and Orlock. His shriveled up skeletal body is laying on top of Ellen. There's blood. There's lilacs. Gross. Same position as Friedrich was with Anna. Like a sexually posed position. The end. And that is the story. Thank you so much. I wrote down some notes, like some post-movie notes that I wanted to tap into. Somebody on Reddit pointed it out. Her name was r/Robert Eggers. Shout out to you because you made a good point. Would a villain, as in Knock, kind of a bad boy, have a book as the instructions of how Orlock is to die? Previous adaptations of the story, Ellen had already had the answer of how to defeat Orlock. Knock sees Orlock as his master, so why would he have a book of how to destroy his master? In the scene where Knock is begging for Orlock to use him, I didn't mention it, but Orlock knows that Knock has the book. Maybe Orlock is just ready to leave the earth, gifted the book to Knock. Maybe it was like his suicide wish. A lot of people don't think that Orlock wanted to die, but in my mind, when I read that theory, I was like, maybe he did. Maybe he was over it. This was an interesting point. Since Orlock gave his soul to the devil, and the devil turned him into a creature that would walk the earth and feed on blood, is the Orlock we know the devil? Question mark. He definitely is evil, and he's a demonic force. If the devil has his soul, would the devil be in him on earth, like a little piece of him? Some behind the scenes stuff for you. Mr. Robert Eggers, he's had this film in development for about 9 years, and he had done a play with a school buddy of his of Nosferatu. I might be butchering this. He was allowed to make a student film of this. What I'm trying to say is this story has been Mr. Eggers' wheelhouse for a long parallelically time. So it's very nice for him to put all of his egussy into this. Okay, this is what I was going to talk about earlier when I was introducing Thomas Hutter, and I said there was another person that was going to play him. Look, I am a Harry Styles fan through and through. I've been there since the X Factor days. I am a die-hard Harry Styles fan. He can't act his way out of a paper bag. I'm gonna say it. That's not true. I mean, I'm sure he could do fine. I've watched some of his movies on my channel. His acting is passable. We gotta call out our faves. We gotta call them out on their flaws. Maybe if he took some time to really study the craft, maybe he could be great. I don't know. But not for this. Harry Styles was thought to be up for the role for Thomas Hutter. Actually, originally, Bill Skarsgård was going to play Thomas Hutter. COVID happened and it put a stop to the movie or something. I'm not sure. And then when they came back to it, Robert Eggers was like, hey, why don't you play Orlock for me? I think it's so much better because I can't picture Bill as Thomas. Name of Professor Albin Eberhard von Franz. Nod to 1922 version because the producer of this movie up here, Albin Grau. He was an occultist first and foremost. He was a producer and a production designer on the original film. Introduced the theme Orlock would be defeated with a blood sacrifice because of his occult learnings, you know. If you watch the silent film, when we see Knock looking at papers in his office, symbols on the pages, and it was actually symbols from Grau, G-R-A-U. It was his production company, Prana Films, that he wanted to use to portray his occult fascinations on screen. Slay. Look, when I first saw this movie, sometimes I'll go on Letterboxd and see what everybody's thinking, or I'll go on Reddit. I can't remember where I found this post at. I've been trying to comb through the internet for this thing. I can't find it. Somebody pointed out Friedrich is the only one that does not ever encounter Orlock, at least while being conscious, because the only time that they ever come in contact with one another is when Orlock is his shadow over Friedrich right before he's going to kill Anna and the girls, and he says, you're going to stay asleep. And that's why through the entire movie, he can't believe that this is real because he's never seen Orlock at all, and he believes just what's right in front of him. I just thought that was a really interesting point. The scene where the vampire hunters are going to kill the vampire in the village, we can see in the captions they say, find his tail, his cloven hooves. It got me thinking because I was watching all these videos on how the movie was made, but there was a costume designer, Linda Muir. In Orlock's costume, his shoes, which we don't hardly ever see, even she says in the video, she's like, I think there's only one scene where you might see them. It's when they're walking up the stairs. Anyway, his heel has a horseshoe on the bottom of it. So when they said find his cloven hooves, I don't know, it kind of made me think like, a hoof? A horseshoe for a hoof? This is what I was going to talk about with his makeup. Bill Skarsgård, he is not shy to the prosthetic game. See It and It Chapter 2. The first scene with him and Thomas, it was like halfway through the scene and I went, oh shit, that's him. They did a great job is what I'm saying. It really wasn't until his scene with Ellen saying like, you have 3 nights. That was when I was like, oh, that's him. I can see it in his eyes. That's him. David White, he said that he had worked with Eggers to come up with prosthetics and also shape of his head. They put red in his makeup because it was supposed to look like the blood was pooling up under the skin. Eggers wanted the back and the back of his skull to look like it was rotting. Never said why, but I was thinking, well, you know, he was probably laying in his coffin for God knows how long. Rats are in there with the maggots, and he's laying in one position like this. I'm sure he's probably rotting. I would too. I remember watching like a true crime podcast somewhere. When a person dies, their body will pool up with fluid and blood. It'll settle. If you're laying on your back, all the blood's gonna fall to your back. When people pick you up, it'll be like a dark purpley blood red color on the skin. So anyway, that's maybe why they did pockets of red in his flesh. That's what I was thinking. Oh, and this was also just because it bothered me watching the film. You see Friedrich sitting at a billiards table, but if you look, there's no pockets on the table. Well, I found out, sorry, my nose itches. Carom? It's a style of billiards where there's 3 balls, cue ball and 2 different colored balls. People will call score the count. Anyway, but it was a real thing back in the day. And that is all the notes I have for you today. I'm sure there's so much more that we could talk about, more theories, but I think I've covered about everything. My back is humming right now. I need to sit down. I say that at the end of every single one of my videos, but I'm not kidding you. Hang on, let's see if you can hear my back crack. I can't even, I'm so stiff. Oh, did you hear that? Oh, anyways, thanks. I think this has completely lost its tackiness. Can you imagine if I did the whole video with this thing on? In this gorilla suit, I'm getting hot. Well, thanks for watching, sweaties. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did because I love, first and foremost, I love Bill Skarsgård. Second of all, I love Robert Eggers. And Robert Eggers, if you're having an open casting call for the werewolf, let me know where and when. I will be there. Do I have any acting skills at all? No, I have 0. I'll be a background actor. I don't care. I'll do catering. Just let me be in this movie. You don't even know. Oh, I'm so ready for the werewolf because if you guys thought I like this shit, I'm a werewolf. I'm a wolfman connoisseur. I'm a werewolf whore. Not like that. I love anything that has to do with a werewolf. I'm there. Robert Eggers, you just let me know when and where. I'll be there. This will be my audition. Look, I can dress myself. I can play the wolf. I can do sound acting, you know, voice acting. I need to stop. My neighbors are going to be like, all right, guys, I'll see you on the next one.